Hello, and welcome to How to Use the Web Camera Scanning with eDoctrina. For those of you that are familiar with eDoctrina, you know that working with assessments is a multi-step process. The first step is to actually create the assessment through the Assessments tab here. Once that assessment is created, there are a multitude of ways to get the data into eDoctrina. One of those ways that you may be familiar with is working with answer sheets. Our traditional way of working with answer sheets would be to come to the Answer Sheets tab here and opening up our teacher dashboard. Typically speaking, our traditional way of scanning would involve taking an answer sheet and scanning that answer sheet through a copier. Then that data would then be processed through eDoctrina and then placed in eDoctrina, typically anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. You would then receive notification if you have scanned in that sheet correctly, and that notification would be given if you are using the option that would allow eDoctrina to notify you. Most users tend to use this option, and it is, like I said, the most traditional way to scan, but there is another way to scan which actually makes things much easier and quicker, and that would be to scan with a web camera. But in order to understand how to scan with a web camera, there are a few things that I would like to review with you first. The first thing is that there is a very specific type of answer sheet that is necessary for use with a web camera. So I'm going to show you what that answer sheet is now. So when I enter the teacher dashboard here, just like I've done before, anytime I would print out an answer sheet, I would go through a series of filters here. And with these filters, I would search for my course and my class. As you notice, there are red asterisks here. I'm actually going to close my filters down a little bit just to make them a little bit smaller so we don't see so much on my screen here. So again, I'm seeing course and class, which are marked in red asterisks. The other filters that you see here are optional, so you do not need to fill them out. Just look at the red asterisks, as those would be your mandatory fields. So as I look at course here, I have a course selected. This is grade 4 math. I have a class selected, which is grade 4 mathematics period 1. And there are students associated with each of those classes. Typically speaking, you don't need to select students here, as you can select the students that you want to print the answer sheets for once we get into that screen. So I'm just going to leave that filter alone. Next would be to come down in here and actually select the assessment that you want. So I'm going to find the bank that the assessment exists in, which in this case I'm using a demo school, which is in Key West Central School. And then I would come over here and find my assessment. So in this case, it is assessment 114323. So I type that in, I find it here, click on the button to add it there. Once I have my assessment selected and my student selected, I can now print an answer sheet. So this may be a bit of a review for some of you if you have worked with answer sheets before. So I'm going to click on the button here that says Print Answer Sheets. And when I do that, you will notice that there is an option here that says Web Document Camera Only. This is the type of answer sheet and the only type of answer sheet that will work with document camera scanning. So I'm going to make sure that I have this one selected here. All of these other options that you're seeing up top here, these would be for your traditional scanning, which would go through a copier. So again, these options that you see here would actually not work if you are using a web camera. The only one that you can use would be this one here. Just as a little bit of an aside, we also have a scanning app, which is a free app, which is available through the Apple Store or through the Google Play Store. So if you would like to try to do the scanning through a cell phone or a tablet, that is available as well. All right, so let me just show you very quickly what this answer sheet would look like. So I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to unselect. I'm just going to select 2 students here. So I'm going to go to Print Answer Sheets, and hitting Continue will show you what the answer sheets will look like. So typically, I'm just going to shrink my screen down a little bit here. So what you will notice is when you print out these answer sheets, there are a few key components that I'd like to talk about first. So what I'm seeing here is an entire sheet. So you'll notice on this sheet that 2 answer sheets are going to print on 1 sheet. So when you are working with these answer sheets, you're going to want to cut these in half, so typically right about here. And you want to make sure that these pluses that you see here, there are 6 of them, that those are visible and in view, because that is what's going to help align the answer sheet with the scanner. Another key component here is this QR code up here. That is what's actually getting read, and that is how eDoctrina is going to be able to identify who the student is, what district it's coming from, the school, the teacher, the assessment that is being used. All of that information that's required to be able to get that data into eDoctrina is actually housed right inside of this QR code here. Okay, so again, you're going to get 2 on one sheet when it prints out. You're going to want to cut them in half, and you're going to be scanning them accordingly. Okay, all right, so let me close this out here. All right, so once you have those answer sheets created, then it's time to actually start talking about how we could scan them in using a web camera. So you will notice on your teacher dashboard here, there is an option here that says Scan Web Answer Sheets. If you do not see this option, then I would recommend that you contact help@edoctrina.org just to see why that option would not be there, and we'll make sure that we can turn that on for you. But typically speaking, you should see that option here. It's the option, of course, for Scan Web Answer Sheets. So if I click on this here, I'm going to be taken to another page, which is our scanning page. So first things first, one thing I want to reiterate is that we do have web cameras that we recommend that you use that are provided from eDoctrina. Now, if you are interested in a web camera, please let us know and we can give you some pricing. But if your district already has invested into web cameras, whether or not they have been provided from us, in most cases, as long as it is a web camera that is recognized by a browser, in this case I'm using Google Chrome, which is our recommended provider, or browser I should say, as long as it can be recognized by a browser, the camera should work. So probably the quickest, easiest way to test if that's going to work when you get on this page is to come up at the top URL bar right here, and you'll see there's a little camcorder icon here. Clicking on it, my camera is closed right now. That's why I'm not seeing anything in this window here, but I'm going to open it in a moment. But just to make sure if my camera is being recognized and being able to be used for eDoctrina, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to see here, if I click on here, there are 2 options for my particular computer. There is the web camera, which is coming directly from my computer, built right into the monitor. And the other option here is my document scanner, which was the scanner that I actually have plugged into my computer. So if you are using an external web camera, as long as you can recognize it here in your browser, then it should work in most cases. So I'm going to click on that there, then I'm going to hit done. I'm going to open up my camera, and you'll see it's starting to show right there. All right, so now it's time to actually scan my answer sheets. So I'm going to take my first one here, and I'm going to start running a few real quick here. So here's my first one. I just place it under. It gets read. In this case, student already had answers. It's going to ask me, do you want to overwrite them? So if you inadvertently scan a sheet which has already been scanned, eDoctrina will warn you and tell you that that student already has answers. So in this case, I can overwrite them or leave them alone. So I'm going to hit yes that I want to overwrite them. You'll notice as soon as I do that, I see 2 things on the screen. The first thing is the actual image that was captured of that answer sheet with all the students' answers written right on it. The second is the image and how it was actually processed. So you'll see these little green marks here is what answer was actually recognized by eDoctrina. Now if there was a mistake or something needs to be verified, I can just simply come down here to the answer, click on it, and then select the correct answer that I'd want. And we'll see more of that in a moment when I have a few students that either left things blank or have made some mistakes with their answer sheets. So let me continue on. So I'm going to move that one, take another one here, place it down. It'll scan right away, and you see everything is being processed. The thing that is great right here, I have instant data. As soon as that answer sheet has been scanned through, my data is instantly available. I do not have to wait that period of time that I would normally have to wait with the scanning. It is instantly available to me. So continuing on, my next student, putting that one down, it's going to scan it through, and I'm just going to quickly go through here. Now you'll notice with this answer sheet, I have some answers that were missed by the student. So they missed question number 3, question number 5, and question number 6 were all left blank. So in this case, I can now come down here to the verification, and you'll notice that green indicates a correct answer, red indicates an incorrect answer, yellow indicates an answer that was skipped in this case. So I'm going to look at it, and now I have the option of either just leaving it alone and basically telling eDoctrina that the yellows are incorrect, or what I could choose to do if I wanted is I could call my student back, ask them very quickly, hey, you left number 3 blank. What answer did you want? Then they could tell me, you know what, I want answer B. So I'm going to go in and enter that, and then I'll just do the last ones here very quickly. So B, and we'll say they want C for this one. So unfortunately, it didn't help their score in this case, but I can enter their answers accordingly. Continuing on here, moving into this next one. I'm scanning. Now you notice we have a little bit of a different icon here. This is a yellow with a black asterisk inside. This indicates that for this question, which is number 5, there were 2 answers that were designated here, or 2 answers that eDoctrina recognized. So eDoctrina got a little bit confused and said, wait, there's 2 answers here. Which answer should be the correct answer? In this case, it's very clear for me to be able to see that the student crossed out letter B and they want A. So I'm just going to quickly go through again here, select A, and now the correct answer, or now the answer is put in there. I shouldn't say the correct answer. Continuing on, I go to the next one. This one here, you'll notice we usually recommend, of course, that the bubbles get filled in completely, and this would be why. Because it was a little inconsistent. Number 1 was read correctly. It did read that the student selected true. Number 2 was not read correctly, but of course I know what the student wants. So I'm going to come in here and select B. 3 was read, 4 was not. So I'm going to go through again, select C. Number 5 should be B. And lastly, number 6, they chose C. Okay, so again, you can see how quickly and easily I can adjust that for my students as they're sitting right there. And lastly, I'm going to do one more. This is just a student that decided not to fill in bubbles and just cross out with X's. Again, some of them were red, but I'm going to have to come through here and select number 2 and say that they wanted C here. And number 6, they also wanted C. So unfortunately, that did not help the student in any way, but of course, I could change that as needed. Okay? All right, so those were a few examples of some answer sheets and how they would be scanned through and how that works with eDoctrina. Again, as I mentioned, the thing that's great about this is that the data is instant right here. If I wanted to, I can actually open a report right from this screen for this particular student. So just to show you, I'm going to pull up this student here. It'll give me some options of which type of report I want to run. I'm just going to keep it very simple here with my standard statistics report. And I also have some options here. I can hide correct answers. I can show the student responses. If I had comments or excluded questions, I could also tell eDoctrina to show those as well. But I'm going to keep it very simple here. So I'm just going to hit OK. This will now pull up a report. And as long as you have linked standards to your questions in the assessment editor, you will see standards listed here. And then, of course, you'll see the data as far as how the student did. Now, one thing that's pretty neat about this as well is since I added those standard statistics, this would then show me down here how this student performed for each of those particular standards. So in this case, of course, they didn't do so well. But if they did get some of these right, they would see some different things as they kind of went through here. This right here, you'll see this little silly thing we have here, how did you pass kindergarten? That is something we do just with our training. That was a grade conversion that we put in because those grade conversions can be really whatever you want. So this is just to kind of designate something that we've put in there, but of course you would not see that for your district, but we can organize those and set those up however you would like. Okay, so when we're all said and done here, what I'm going to do is close this out. And really quickly, I'm just going to quickly run a report just to show you that I have the entire class set of data right after scanning in. So I'm going to go into my class summary report, hitting run report. Let me try that one more time. There we go. And now you'll see here's each of my students and how they performed on this particular test. And like I said, we put in these silly grade conversions here. 5th grade is a place for you, ready for middle school, and how did you pass kindergarten? So, and of course, there's some a lot of different data as we go through here. And of course, if you had questions about any of these reports or the information that is on here, you can see one of our other webinars, or feel free to reach out to us at help@edoctrina.org. Okay, so that's essentially it in a nutshell as far as working with our web camera. One other final thing that I would just like to show, which a lot of people aren't aware of, you can also use your web camera for a few other items with eDoctrina in addition to scanning web answer sheets. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over here to where it says planning, and I am going to go down and find the document camera section. So I'm going to click on document camera right there. What this will allow you to do is this will allow you to essentially use your document camera almost as an overhead projector. So what I can do here is I can set a paper down so I can project it up onto a board or a smart board or however I'd like to see it. And then as I go through here, you know, of course I could point things out, you know, using my mouse, or if I wanted to, I could even just actually point right on the paper. And of course, as you can see, this is almost like a live stream here. It's just capturing everything that I'm doing, so I can make a little notation right there, and you would see all of that right there. Okay, so that is one thing that you can do with it. Use it as more or less a projector that your students can see. But now, one thing, if your district is using curriculum with eDoctrina, one thing that you can actually do is you can select a lesson to upload this image to. So in this case here, what I'm going to do is just, actually I'm going to keep that year the same. So I have a lesson selected right here of grade 4 math, unit 11, lesson 1. And now what I can do is I have two options here. I can either click on this camera option here, and if I did that, what that would allow me to do is capture this image, and it would now have that image as an attachment to the lesson plan. And secondly, I can go in here and click on this little icon here with the little arrow, and what that will do is it'll actually upload the image to my computer, so that way I can save the image to my computer. So you may be asking yourself, why would I want to include an image with a lesson plan? There is an option, of course, with lesson plans to make them available to students. So if you have students that have eDoctrina accounts, they can then go in and view the lesson plan or view worksheets or things that you worked on during that day, because you could capture them. So in order to do that, it's very simple. Of course, you'd come through here and you would set any of your filters as accordingly, because of course you want to tell eDoctrina where you want this image to go. And I'm going to start here by clicking the camera icon. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me, you know, an option to save the picture. It gives me a name right here, and the auto name is going to provide the date and the time that it was being saved. But of course, if I wanted to change it, I could click in here and I could enter my name. So I'm just going to call it an image. And if I wanted that auto naming for the remainder of the session, I could just click here, and then every time I click that button, it would auto name, which would detail to the date and the time, just like we saw before this. I would then hit save, and it's going to inform me that the image was saved. So now if I go into this particular lesson, I would now see that this image is attached to that lesson. The other thing that I can do here is, like I mentioned, I can actually save this image right to my computer itself. So I'm going to click on the second button here. Again, I have the naming convention, and again, I can change it if I click in there. I can also add a comment, so I'm just going to type in here is my comment. And now this time when I hit save, you'll notice at the bottom of my screen, I have a PDF that is popping up. So when I open this up, this will now give me a PDF that I can view on my computer. So you'll see here's the name of the image, there's the image there, and there's my comment. So now, of course, I could go in and I could save this document accordingly and save it right to my specific computer. So in a nutshell, that is our web camera. There are many uses to this web camera. As you can see, it can make your life much, much easier, especially with the answer sheet scanning. Just a few things I'll add here at the end. We've seen many teachers using their web camera in many different ways. Some of the better ways that I have seen is probably an example would be actually allowing the students to come directly up and work with these web camera answer sheets as more or less like an exit out the door, okay, or an exit ticket. So that way you just use this web camera with these answer sheets, very small, quick assessment, maybe 5, 6 questions. Students fill it out right as they're leaving, and as they're heading out the door, they place it down next to the camera, scan it through, and then they can get instant data as they're leaving, okay? Now, of course, you don't have to share that data with them, but if you'd like to, you can. In addition to that, I've also seen teachers working with the web cameras where they will actually have students, they will give them the web answer sheets to them for homework so they can fill those out ahead of time. Then when they come in the morning, they then lay their answer sheets down, scan them through, go to their seats, continue on with their day. That's all part of their morning routine. Then when it's time to actually review that homework, the teacher can now open up eDoctrina, open up any of those reports. So if I quickly go in here, just as a quick example, going back to the dashboard here, teacher can open up any of these reports here and run an analysis on how the students performed. Those reports, of course, can be kept private, so you don't know who received what, or if you'd like to share that information, of course you can. So lots of different uses to this web camera. And of course, we're always looking for additional ways to have use of that web camera and things like that. So with that, that will bring us to the end of our how to use web camera scanning. I thank you for joining me today, and have a great day.